GRIN one game away from pulling off their first series win, and Wildcard one loss away from having their first series loss. But, you know, one win away as well from forcing to a game 3. So, yeah, NBA's over, Jonathan. Sammy can concentrate on the game now. Happy days. This game should be very, very different considering that point.
What if we had a Dota 2 hero that had basketball-like skills? I mean, Shaker's kind of one with the dunk, I guess, but what if we had more, Mike?
Is that what you want,
I
John?
guess
'Cause it sounds like you've never watched a basketball game in your life.
I believe you hold the ball and you dribble it and then you shoot, if I recall right.
Well, you can't
Is this
hold
the
the
gameplay
ball
mechanics?
and dribble at the same time, Jonathan. You know, you've
Well,
got to
you dribble the ball to... Yeah, you've got the traveling rule, because traveling is illegal or something.
Yes.
No traveling for you.
Well, it used to be illegal, not so much in 2023, John. Some very interesting moves they make these days, I'll tell you.
Really now?
Yeah. Sure, I'll upset a few NBA fans by saying that. Anyway, we'll steer off that topic. Bottom lane, Muzi LGTK going to be on the Magnus Pugna. They're going to be up against Sunlight on the position 5 Phoenix, and of course Sammy Boy on the position 1 Morphling. Should be a pretty even style of lane, though I must admit, every time we have seen Magnus as of late, in terms of the CS department, it does so well in not only securing its own farm, but denying so much farm away from the enemy carry that it is up against. And it is mostly based off the fact that its base damage is just stupidly high when you have it in conjunction with the Empower. As we are going to have GRIN getting a quick pause out because they're having some ping issues apparently.
Yeah, it's been happening a couple of days now. I remember Sammy complaining the last time as well. We'll see if it fixes itself out. Gives us a chance to, you know, continue this discussion about that lane. I think the one issue I have with this off lane of GRIN is the pause for Pugna. Like it's so weird. I'm a big Pugna fan, but you don't have natural synergies with a Magnus. I suppose you could use the decrep slow to try to skewer someone back, but that's easier said than done. Although LGTK is doing a good job of just zoning out Sunlight hard here.
Pugna here is very good at doing that. Nice range, nice movement speed on the hero, just able to kite in and out very effectively. Have a look at the other lanes while we have a chance. Of course, mid lane, Rojo Fireflu against RCY. Pretty even matchup between the two heroes so far. We've seen the Storm vs Ember Spirit many times, and I think at least for now, RCY is going to have a pretty good time here in this mid lane. Not going to opt for any points in the chains yet, but they, you know, it's all about the CS board, and I think the Ember in particular generally does have a slightly better time than the Storm does.
It tends to have a better time. It's usually down to the fact that you can kind of outplay, try to dodge out with a sleight of fist. You've got your shield that can block a little bit of the damage from Rojo Fireflu, and RCY does go for the level 2 Flame Guard at level 3. So he's got some additional protections that a harassment Rojo Fireflu will do. I think for Rojo, as long as you CS here, you're kind of fine as well. Like, you hit level 6, no kill threat can come onto you until down the line. So if it does devolve into a static lane, you're pretty happy on the Storm anyway. And you should be stable. 6-minute power rune's the big one. Support rotations are what you have to watch out for, and that's where it gets interesting. I feel like both sides have decent rotations that can come out. You might be a little bit more scared of Decrep Ancient Seal, but a Phoenix Rubik shouldn't be underestimated either.
Absolutely not. Top lane Soul, Salivating Salamander, of course, against Monster and Flea on the Tide Rubik. Monster's taking a bit of harass here. Does already have the Ring of Health up. Going into the Meteor Hammer build up, by the way, here, John. This is something I think we were seeing from a couple of Tides. The Meteor Hammer is still proving to be, you know, an item that they seem to want. Offers you that constant split push capability and the constant tower aggression. So not feeling the need for the Vanguard build-up that we do also see from Tide Hunters as of late. But I suppose the Meteor Hammer just allows you to just have an insane amount of split push. Just push the creep wave, Meteor Hammer the tower. Just always have the constant threat of this Tide just taking objectives if you're not watching it.
Yeah, I think that's on CL right here. for Monster, because you might end up playing a little bit more of a passive game, trying to farm into items. You've got a Morphling, you've got an Ember. You could end up sitting back and just trying to find something. It's pretty alright. It's also decent follow-through for Ravage. Again, there's a slight lack of hard lockdown. Anything to chain into Ravage just feels good. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I do think that without the Vanguard, though, Soul will have a much better game than you'd anticipate. So you will have to watch yourself up against that Terrorblade. But for the most part, you're not gonna miss too much by skipping the Vanguard this game. So not the worst thing in the world. It still is, no first blood coming out yet. Some action across the board.
Bottom lane. It's an attempt mid lane as well. Rojo's dropping extremely low as RCY is going to continue chasing him down and does get a nice pickup for himself. Salivating Salamander has rotated against the Ember. RCY should not survive and will not. But he's already got the pick off solo here against the Storm. Even getting tipped here by Rojo Fireflu, who does tend to pay respects to anyone that does outplay him. RCY going to be very, very happy with himself, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like that's a big boon for the Ember. Already 5 about to hit 6, whereas Rojo Fireflu is still 4 about to hit 5. So you will have that level 6 advantage very early on. The Ember Sammy starting to drop a little bit low from the harassment down bot. Should still be able to juggle around that HP, but has to be a bit cautious about going all agi here, as he could just get blasted into his death.
He's going to just use the stick charges to be at full HP, full mana basically now as the Morphling. Mid lane, another dive in. Rojo not having a good time at all. RCY, along with Flea, ensuring the Storm is not going to have a good game after this laning stage. They've kept him at level 4 now. As RCY already 6.5. Out leveling him by 2 levels, which is just massive. And it's going to be pretty hard for Rojo to catch up after a laning stage like this.
Really good wards being dropped here as well on the rotation from Flea. The live hitting Salamander doesn't quite find that ward right behind the tier 1. So it's never going to be safe for you to get a rotation out or just even hold the lane. Rojo Fireflu gonna have to try to catch up somewhere. And this is the one thing about the Storm. It's super sensitive with the Falcon and Witchblade timings. Both of that's going to be stalled out a bit. Not going to be a comfy feeling for him to even just hold steady in a lane or try to farm up. A good start for Wildcard in comparison to Game 1.
At least your Terrorblade, like Soul's having a really good time on the TB, at the very least, just not really struggling at all against Monster, but Monster's kind of doing the exact same thing on the Tide. Actually pretty even in terms of CS here at the top lane. Mid lane, another chase is on here for Rojo Fireflu. Bottom lane, Muzi and LGTK both falling low, but they are going to get sunlight. Sammy also dropping low in terms of HP, can't stick around. You look back at Rojo Fireflu, Flea is not leaving him alone, by the way, on the Rubik. Flea is just chasing him down consistently, and Rojo will pay the tip over. As now Muzi actually finds Sammy Boy. A blind shockwave gets the kill.
Just a little
Level
bit
1
too much
shockwave.
edgy there. Just on the edge. Sammy's been juggling that around. Does get blasted down. There's a good amount of magical damage coming out there in GRIN. Still that space for mid. And the emphasis is on RCY clearing out that tier 1. And you are starting to find your openings here on side of Wildcard. Meteor Hammer fully up from Monster. Level 6 is up as well. No Ravage yet. Still manageable here.
They are going to try to go after the Tide, and he should go down. Monster trying to make it as hard as possible for them to secure this, as Soul eventually going to secure the kill. RCY did show up to try and help out, but it is a bit too late for that. So he will retreat. Flea will follow. At least it does buy a little bit of time for Rojo to get his level 6 on the Storm, but still at level 5, and immediately RCY will just start running right towards the Storm. Remnant forward. Zip is up now, but the chains are going to land. There's not enough mana here for Rojo. RCY getting blocked by the creep wave. Will jump over them, but now the Vortex is out. Oh, he's all right. He does Remnant away, but had he tied there, that would have been really, really disastrous. It would have been so much XP to Rojo, who was already struggling. But he'll be okay. He'll back off.
Get some spacing for himself. You really have to appreciate the warding here from the side of Wildcard. It's very aggressive just on that mid area. From the ramp into that tier 1 area, into even the triangle. Wildcard can... Wildcard has been playing really well around that. RCY now on a bit of a hunt.
I mean, he's up top. And the Soul's going to be fine. Like, he just backs his way to the north. One big saving grace for GRIN is Soul having a pretty good laning stage for himself. Top of the net worth board at the moment as the TB. Working on towards the Mantis style. And, well, bottom lane, Sammy could be in a bit of danger. Ancient Seal's going to land. And Sammy is just dead. Very easy to kill off the Morphling when you have the Ancient Seal to set up. And Wildcard, they were all busy trying to push down the top tier 1 tower. So, nobody around to help poor old Sammy boy.
It's a good showing from GRIN. Again, you're suffering on Rojo Fireflu. You're ensuring that the Morphling's having just as tough of a time, while you're having a great time on Soul and on Muzi with all of this movement out. And the Terrorblade shines in that jungle area. Doesn't take too long for Soul to get comfy just with a Yasha up. Again, this magic damage amp lineup of GRIN can take control early on if you don't respect it. Ancient Seal, that was also just the Ancient Seal with no decrep. If you combine Ancient Seal and decrep, I think you melt even faster. You're not going to survive on max agi here at all for Sammy if he's not careful. No.
Mid lane, RCY and Flea are literally still sitting here watching Rojo fire through. I can't believe how much of their attention they've placed on this Storm, but they truly believe that he might be the big problem here the Wildcard had last game. GRIN have shown up with their supports now to be ready against RCY and Flea. Oh, bottom lane, Monster's just slowly pushing up the tier 1 tower on his own with the Meteor Hammer. And this is kind of what you do with this itemization. Just push out towers. Rotations could come in, but I don't actually think they're confident in being able to deal with Monster. So Tide might just prove to be way too tanky. And as I say that, they are going to smoke up. Salivating Salamander and Rojo Fireflu are going to rotate down towards the bottom lane. The Tide is being pinged down.
Ward, though.
The Muzi is moving in. Here we go. Vortex is not out yet, but Rojo eventually throws it at us. Now the Mystic Flare, but they do skewer him away from that into the RP. Monster thought about the Ravage, but couldn't get it off in time. So it's still a pretty big pick-off. They won't lose anything for their trouble on GRIN. And I suppose you do have to be pretty happy about that.
It's rather interesting that the smoke still pays off. They were on the edge of vision from that Warden triangle. Still, Wildcard seeing RP expended. I think this is an opportunity for themselves to come in. Soul is around and Metamorphosis is ready though.
There goes the tier 1 tower. Soul looking to maybe pop the meta if they do fully commit for this fight, but Wildcard are looking to just get out of here, it seems. GRIN looks like they've successfully gotten out apart from Salivating Salamander, but that's not really a big deal. You know, you get a Skywrath kill, but you lost your tier 1 tower. 5 heroes down at bot lane to try and make that happen. And I think GRIN, considering the start at least that their Storm had, you know, I think they're more than happy to just take their time to get some farm going. Soul, now running into RCY, is just going to leave him be. Can't do much about the Ember. Of course, Sammy's trying his absolute best to catch up with the net worth department, but he's going to be scouted very soon if he goes onto this creep wave. Will reveal himself. Soul is right around the corner along with Rojo Fireflu. This could be very problematic for Sammy. They do also have the meta if they need it. Sammy will strength more for now. Soul's going to move in. Vortex to drag him back. He'll waveform towards the left side of the map, but in comes Salivating Salamander with the concussive shot to slow him down. They will at least find Muzi and LGTK, and they are going for the ancient stacks that have been made in the Dire Triangle, but they are going to lose Sammy at the same time.
it's a little bit of a sacrifice. At least you kind of compensate here on the side of Wildcard. You managed to steal the Empower as well with Flea. So it's a short process for RCY to find that monster. He's stuck up here. He needs a TP and he will find one. And skewered up there. He'll head back down. Soul still has meta running for a bit here.
We'll try for the tier 1 top tower, but that's going to eventually be left alone because his metamorphosis does wear off. RCY looking like the real carry again for Wildcard in this game number 2. Like he's substantially higher in net worth than Sammy Boy has been at the moment. And the Ember obviously can scale to a point where he could be a huge problem. Please done him the favor of course, of stealing the Empower from as the Rubik, so the Ember going to feel a lot stronger right now with that bonus and power being provided.
Oh.
LGTK, the chains are out, they'll lock down the Pugna. He will go for the life drain, and they have no way to cancel that, so LGTK will survive as now, with the Ancient Seal out, they might have themselves an Ember kill. And they do.
Oh boy.
That's huge.
That is quite a fair bit to give out. That is, you know, Rojo Fire flew around to soak up some of that as well, so he's starting to catch up in terms of the EXP. He is going to hit 10, pretty much at parity with RCY at that point off the back of these pickoffs. And just a really heads-up play from LGTK. Decrepping himself, life draining the Phoenix, who's using Sunray, so he's losing twice the amount of HP. And that just forces LGTK to, forces Sunlight to back off, leaving RCY to his fate by himself. Heads-up plays all around from the side of GRIN. 5 to 8. Wildcard, I mean, they're still finding something on the map. You know, RCY still well farmed. Samson not falling too far behind. Monster getting a lot done by himself with a Meteor Hammer. But GRIN aren't falling behind anymore. Arguably, they're pulling ahead on a lot of their cores. Soul is going to be a massive issue once that Scott is up.
That he will be. That's the big time in the GRIN are looking for. Wildcard, they really need to bide their time a little bit here and try to get that farm going right now. I mean, they've got a 1k advantage, but it really doesn't feel that way. And I'll tell you, Soul on this position 1 role has been looking fantastic every game we've seen him, right? Like, even if GRIN have not picked up a series victory, Soul himself has just looked amazing throughout all the games we have watched. It's kind of the thing, like, it does feel like GRIN do kind of trust in him to kind of carry the game for them quite heavily. As Life Drain again going to keep Salivating Salamander alive, and now a Mystic Flare out onto the Phoenix and the Rubik. They are going to be able to back off successfully, but now Flea is getting jumped. Rojo does pick one off. The egg is going to be dropped, but Soul does focus it down. Still Rojo Fire Food dropping low, but gets the zip away. He's going to be fine. He is going to be just fine for now. Muzi, the one being focused on the Magnus, but he is too tanky to deal with. He will walk away from this. And I just figured out, have we even seen a Ravage this game yet? I swear we haven't seen one Ravage.
We haven't seen it ourselves, but he did pop it at some point down bot in an engagement, I'm pretty sure, but it didn't lead to a kill. So he has popped the Ravage, but just hasn't lined up to much just yet. Side of GRIN, and that's a spectacular way to trade your supports. Rojo Firefly again, pretty much fully caught up in soaking all of that EXP. So you're at the point now where the Storm's a major threat. Your lockdown for the Storm isn't the most stable. You have a lot of room coming out here for Soul. One ultimate orb already up, and not too far off from full Scotty now with his farming pace. Sammy is going to try and take the morph form of the Skywrath. Does actually end up taking down Salivating Salamander. LGTK stuck around, but is probably just going to die here. And his team is making their way over, but he will not survive long enough for them to be able to help him out. So nice support duo pick off here by Wildcard.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
2k advantage sitting Wildcard's way now. GRIN, I mean, at least not losing any cores. The big boys are still just hitting creeps.
Pretty much. You are a little bit concerned. Flea does pick up the life drain. So now they can get the battery for everyone here. Just constant heals from the Rubik.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
It's going to be a little bit of concern until you can find that pick off onto Flea. So I have to watch yourselves just a little bit here. GRIN, they're still buying space for Soul. Again,
Oh,
not too far off from Scotty.
LGTK. Could have sworn he just respawned. He's going to go down again. Let's get a D-ward off at least, so he gets something for his time. But yeah, he's gone. Mid
Seems
T2
like
tower
your
push
classic
perhaps
Pugna
with
gameplay.
what's that? Sorry.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Seems like your classic Pugna gameplay. Respawn,
pretty
die,
much.
respawn, die.
Pretty standard.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
They are just slowly chipping away at this tier 2 mid tower with the meteor hammer of Monster. Top lane, TP rotations coming in. Sammy was being targeted, but now he has the Lincoln Sphere up, so the Vortex will not land from Rojo. Wolf will be just fine to escape. Sammy requiring the Lincoln Sphere to survive all these disables that are on the side of GRIN. Meanwhile, Soul TPing out right next to the tier 2 Radiant Tower, but does make it. Sadly for Sunlight, he had no way of stopping that from happening. Mid lane could be a fight to break out because Muzi's got to skewer back onto the Tide. So they have fought Monster. Ravage is going to fly out, connecting on 3 targets, but Monster surely dies though. Nice life drain from Lee, keeping him alive a little bit longer. Monster is still walking away. They've got at least Sunlight down, but Rojo is completely out of mana. Trying to walk out of this, does pop the illusions. Zip towards the north, is still alive, but Sammy's gonna meet him there. They do take him down. In the meantime, Soul finally gets Monster on the Tide, but that life drain still from Flea, making life so much more challenging than it needed to be.
The one thing you have to watch out for here, you've got to be able to pop that decrep after you life drain, just to ensure that he doesn't get the bigger steal. Still, you managed to find a tier 1 mid to equalize the map a little bit here for GRIN. Soul again becoming a massive issue with all the stats he has on hand. Full Scotty up now on our Terror Blade. So he's going to be hitting like a truck. He's going to be mitigating some of that healing that Sammy will want to receive. And now, again, a very even game number 2. Wildcard still in a position to try to force a fight, but no Ravage, no Egg. It's going to be a lot harder for them to kind of play this fight now.
I mean, it is GRIN that are actually retreating, though. They're the ones that are maybe a little bit more hesitant at the moment, still not feeling like they're at the stage where they can, really guarantee themselves a good team fight. RCY is going to be forced to remnant away as he does run right into GRIN. We'll at least reveal that there are observer wards on that high ground. Wildcard again, grouping up down in this bottom lane, prepping perhaps for another team fight. No smoke going to come out yet. They're just going to hold out for now. Maybe just wait for the Ravage at least. They are buying Sammy plenty of time to have the Manta up now and go straight into the Aghanim Scepter after that. And of course, that's going to be the big timing for the Morphling as well. Sammy can have a much better game, I'm sure, once that is up and available. As Wildcard. A 4-man smoke here. Start heading towards the Dire Triangle where Rojo Fire Flu is hanging around. Rojo heading down south, but they are right behind him, just stalking the storm. Though I'm not actually sure if they gained any vision of the guy. They may not be aware that he was walking right past them.
Dire's middle tower.
So a perfect position now for Wildcards. The smoke is broken and GRIN don't even know what's coming. Rojo immediately just zips out, leaving the Pugna behind, so LGTK will die and so will Salivating Salamander. Both supports going down. Rojo, as soon as he saw them, he just said, screw this, I'm out. Roshan is open. So Wildcard, they can start the Roshan play instead.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower
Rojo Fire Flu. He's going to be trying to maybe go for an Aegis still here, though it seems like he has been spotted out as he'll try for a TP, play with the zip. Very desperate kind of play here from Rojo. He's going to get punished for it. And Wildcard, well, Roshan is freely going to go their way. It seems like GRIN cannot get in range to actually try and contest this. Wildcard, Aegis up. Sammy will take it for himself in the Morphling.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Wildcard maybe going for a bit of a reset before they group up once again. By the way, apparently we have lost John X5. He's had a bit of a power outage, so just, you know, Filipino things going on right there for John. I'm sure he'll be back at it, you know, any moment. It's bottom lane. There might be a push attempt to come in here from Wildcard. They've got the Ravage up on Monster, so they should be feeling confident enough to go for a big fight. Even without Sammy around. Just give him the time to go farm that Aghanim Scepter. You can still take the time to find this objective down at bot lane as Rojo, Fireflu, and Muzi gonna move into that dire triangle. Kings are out onto Monster, but he's not a very easy target on that Tide. Muzi's actually going to be spotted trying to go for a skewer play. Still has it available. Ravage is going to be committed on just 2. And Muzi is perfectly fine as now they're going to move in for an RP attempt. But it gets cancelled off. It never really comes out. In fact, it did. Flea, he's going to miss his own RP. Not landing on anything. They are making the jump in on the Terrorblade. Sunder is up, but RCY proving to be way too big of a problem. Soul is dropping. RCY will get the tip here from Sammy, who's not even in the fight. Rojo still trying to fight here as the Storm, but looks like he is also set to fall. They are still trying to deal with this Ember, but RCY, being an absolute pain, will finally drop. The massive win for Wildcard here in the mid lane. And this is all without Sammy Boy. The Sammy's just pushing out the top wave and just pushing in the top tier 2 tower. Not even required for the fight. Wildcard, they will win anyway. Hello, John.
Not even necessary, and this is going to be scary. I am back, Mike. Sorry about that power surge. It's going to be scary to deal with Sammy once he does have the full Ags up as well. Again, turning into the Magnus is going to feel great. Even turning into the Terrorblade is going to be nice as well. So everything's kind of lining up here for the side of Wildcard. Just struggles, right? Because we mentioned the Storm, the issues you might have controlling the Storm. You have the same issues kind of controlling the Ember with the BKB up. Like, you're not going to be able to rely on just Ancient Seal to get that lockdown in.
Sammy's going to find a nice, easy kill onto the Salivating Salamander. Ag's now officially up.
It's going to be a bit of a challenge now for the side of GRIN. They've got to somehow get a good jump with the Ancient Seal to lock in RCY, and you almost need to do the same thing for Sammy, but with the Lincolns, you kind of need to pop it with something else first. Maybe a quick cast on the Arcane Bolt into Ancient Seal. And the Arcane Bolt isn't quite the instantaneous popper though, so maybe some coordinated move with LGTK. Jump in Decrep and Ancient Seal, but again, these supports don't reach that far. But at the least, as a Pugna, you don't reach too far out with the Decrep. It's a little bit harder to get that done. LGTK for his part, trying to cut the creep waves, preventing a high ground siege from coming out here on the bot area. Might sacrifice for this though.
It may. Ooh. Nope, never mind. TP is going to make it in time.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I mean, GRIN, they're not out of this game yet, but it's looking pretty tough for them. Dota Plus is currently sitting at 61% chance that Wildcard pull off this victory. It's not too bad, actually, for GRIN, to be fair. Like, I would have kind of expected a worse result here from Dota Plus, but it's being quite generous today. I think the thing is, the Aegis is going to expire in 50 seconds, and the most you're probably going to get out of the Aegis is this tier 2 bottom tower. Maybe you can find the Dire Tormentor as well while you're at it, but it seems like the tier 2 is going to be about it. Bottom lane RCY is currently being watched here by GRIN. But it's proving to be very challenging to pick off this Ember Spirit.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
RCY going to be fine to continue just farming the ancient camps for now.
It's a bit too slippery, but looks like they might force the issue here. So it's a little bit risky for GRIN to actually run up like this. I mean, they are still pretty strong under TiltedBoys. Aegis does expire. So
Oh, RP! Sammy, he's been caught. Aegis is gone. He is down. Flea, he did get an RP of his own off, but there was no follow-up to it. As a big ravage from Monster landing on 5, but there is no follow-up once again. They have lost their position 1, and he is not buying back into this fight. As Sunlight is caught by a skewer, he is going to go down. RCY needs to get out as well. He's taking way too much damage.
Radiant's top tower.
GRIN finding 2 for nothing. Muzi having a look for a little bit more here with the skewer play, but is going to get lifted up by Flea immediately. Nevertheless, the T2 top tower is going to drop.
Tower has
And
fallen.
GRIN, they're even thinking about trying to chip away at the T3 top tower, but they don't have much time on the Metamorphosis. So maybe just trying to force the buyback out from this Morphling. But I don't think it's coming. The Sammy boy, he's going to hold out.
Oh,
Muzi tries for a skewer play, but
Almost.
it's not going to land this time.
I don't mind this from GRIN. Like, there's no Ravage, there's no Egg, there's no team fight.
No TK, or rather LGTK, going to be left behind as the Pugna. Won't mind dying for his team. He's done this many times. I mean, considering the position, like, the win probability, John, back down to 50-50. Very, very close series here between GRIN and Wildcard.
A lot closer than a lot of people would expect, and it's starting to simplify a little bit more for GRIN here, Mike. Ags up on Rojo Fireflua. The AoE Vortex going to be doing a lot of work. It's not going to care for that Linken's. It's going to be a good source of lockdown, maybe even setting up for the RP of Muzi. Because I think ideally you do start with that Vortex first, as it's a little bit easier to commit that with how low its cooldown is. Get the chain stuns going for yourself, and the team fight for the side of GRIN is starting to look scary. And you do have some BKB answers on hand from the side of Wildcard at least. Sammy now getting his own BKB up and running. Should feel a little bit safer in the middle of these engagements, but GRIN and their patience. They see the Aegis expire to immediately commit on the jump. Sammy just all by himself by the tier 2
Is under attack.
with no one else around him. Not respecting that GRIN's on the hunt. Still, Wildcard regroup, go for a smoke play themselves.
Radiant's bottom tower
Down to the
is
bot
under
lane they
attack.
go. All spells are back up for both sides. Oh, they're going to find Soul.
Is under attack.
Terrorblade, the first one to be spotted out. This is the big target you'd love to start with, but the TP play, no. The RP, Flea still had it. Flea still had the RP available, and Soul never gets the Sunder off.
Has fallen.
And now the chase is on. Wildcard, they want more. Seems like they won't quite be able to find anyone else. But I suppose you've already got the best target you could have asked for.
Yeah. Just Flea clutch again. That stolen RP. Setting up a really good movement out there. Blink onto the high ground from Sunlight. It is under the ward, but not quick enough on the reaction here for our Terrorblade. Soul just getting punished. Now this could be the high ground. Roche in a few seconds though. Could be the safer objective, but they're going to force something out here.
Top lane, Rojo Fire Flute. Sammy will go for the jump attempt, but that will not really pan out.
Looking for me? Oh, did I do that?
Tips out from Rojo Fire Flute as well while he's at it. Wildcard back in the
You've
lead
got
here,
Roche
5k
control here.
advantage. What's that, John?
You've got the Roche control for Wildcard, and it's spawned up. They're right in the area. Should be able to take it out fast. Roche number 2 with the Aegis Cheese. Will make their way down there. Shouldn't take too long with the output on Sammy. Side of GRIN though, all smoked up, RP ready to go. AoE Vortex as well. This is a good spot to fight if you're GRIN.
Oh, absolutely. Be wary of the RP being given to Flea. I think it might still be on cooldown for him anyway, but certainly should be very concerned about that. Zip is in. Rojo gonna get the vision. Vortex out with the Aghanim Scepter, finding two as the Ravage is committed, connecting on 4 heroes. Where's the RP? It's not out yet. The Magnus, he will silence it for a moment. It's complete chaos in this Roshan fight, but there's your RP being committed, locking down 2. Soul, who's he aiming? He'll go back on Sammy now. He needs a Sunder. He can't get it off. Oh boy. GRIN. This is not the fight, or rather the way they wanted the fight to go, is they've lost all 3 cores. They will lose LGTK to boot. Only survivor is going to be the Skyrath Mage. And Wildcard, they are back into the Roshan pit.
Nothing to stop them now. GRIN's attempt, admirable, but not quite landing the same way that you'd want it to. Wildcard disciplined enough to stay declumped in the pit, staying pretty far apart. We're standing right outside, right on the left side, really, and not inside. And they get punished for that big committal from the side of GRIN. Wildcard now have the opportunity to just go into the high ground. No Metamorphosis on the respawn here for Soul. No RP as well on the respawn. And not finding anything. 12k lead, 23-16 now for Wildcard. In control of game number 2. Side of GRIN, they still have some place they can do for the high ground defense. Skewer back is going to be your best bet with a Harpoon. Whether or not they can find something impactful with that remains to be seen. AoE Vortex is still there as well for you to play with for Rojo Fireflu. But without that follow-up, it just doesn't feel as much of a threat here.
Yeah, absolutely not. And Wildcard, they're going to try and slowly chip away at these tier 3s. In fact, they'll go for a Tormentor first. No high ground attempt, actually. They are just going to wait it out. It's going to give time for Soul to have the Metamorphosis back up very, very soon, just in 30 seconds or so. Because RCY does have the Aghanim Scepter up now on the Ember, so he's even more of a problem. Wildcard slowly starting to get involved here down at this bottom tier 3 tower. Rojo's trying to make it as hard as possible, but just going past the creep waves with these zips, but he completely whiffed that one. The bottom racks going to be targeted now by Sammy. Silver Edge being built up on the TB is going to be available for Soul, but he's not around the racks to try and defend. Wildcard, they're only going to stick around for the bottom lane of barracks anyway. Just take the melee barracks and get out of there. So they have to address the top lane that was being forced in by Soul.
Well, nice opening for the side of Wildcard to find. Sure, it's not going to affect them in any way. They still have a lot of time on this Aegis as well for Sammy. Oh.
Sammy gonna find LGTK. Oh, it's pretty damn easy kill here on the Pugma. Mid lane, so they're gonna start pressuring here. Monster with the meteor hammers. Sammy should have plenty of right click damage to the Morphling. The GRIN are waiting on the left side to start a good fight here. There is going to be a nice skewer. He has found 3 targets, but the Ravage comes out. Monster is there in time to null out the RP, but it comes out anyway. 2-man RP is there. Soul, he'll get the Sunder this time just to be able to survive this onslaught of Wildcard, but they are still in pretty big trouble. Rojo Fireflu going down. Sammy just going right through the Mystic Flare. That'll be Salivating Salamander to drop as well. Sammy just man-fighting Rojo Fireflu, but the skewer back into the tier 4 towers is out from our Magnus. Sammy somehow still alive, still strength morphing. Even the egg going to be dropped now underneath the tier 4 towers. Just nobody dying from Wildcard apart from all. They do actually get the Aegis now. So Sammy gives up the first life. Muzi, another skill play. Trying to get him into the fountain. Buyback is there by Soul. But he does not have Metamorphosis available to play with. Monster going to be able to survive the output that was GRIN. Another Vortex from Rojo perhaps, but he needs some backup here. They are not close enough to the fountain for them to try and get the skewer back play. Muzi, he'll drag in Flea. Flea going to try and force stuff away, but Flea is going to go down to a TB illusion. Rojo Fire Flu. Going for more. Sammy's still willing to fight here in the morph. They have got the 2 Raxes up, so it might be about time for Wildcard to leave the area, and that seems to be exactly what they'll do, but Rojo is still chasing them down. 2-man Vortex once again flying out from the storm. He really wants RCY and the Ember, but he's doing this all on his lonesome. Soul is finally running in as the Terrorblade, trying to find somebody. The Sunlight will be dragged back into Muzi. RP is not available to cancel this TP off, so Sammy's going to be just fine.
Dire's middle tower is under
But they are
attack.
2 Raxes up now, so Wildcard, even if they lose a couple of supports, not too big of a deal.
Yeah, there's still in a good position to, you know, take advantage of this game. 1 Rax left. They've got all the scaling in the world now with Sammy Boy. And the fights are just really difficult for the side of GRIN. They need a BKB up on Muzi. If he can just follow through on the Vortex or just get that instant RP, not care about the Ravage, the team fights are a lot simpler, but again, he was forced to hold back there. Yeah, I believe he did pick up the pipe, so he's waiting for the BKB gold once more. Once you have that, again, it should be a little bit easier to take these fights. Try to find the openings on GRIN. Same thing goes for Rojo Fireflu. Trying for his own BKB now. And a Linken's for Soul. So a lot of protective items just to ensure that the team fights work out their way. We'll see if GRIN are given any opportunity. For Wildcard, I mean, it's pretty straightforward this point forward. There's not too much to worry about. As long as you don't get picked off in a massive Vortex RP, then the game's really in your hands here. What's her win probability? 90% now for the side of Wildcard. After staying pretty stagnant for a while. Are in a pretty good spot now. 2 BKB spot out, no buybacks. Again, it's on cooldown anyway for Rojo. And for Muzi, well, if you can't get the RP off, you might as well not have a buyback. So it's understandable that they'd go this route.
GRIN is still not out of this game yet. They are trying. Wildcard. Definitely it is their game to lose now. Bottom lane being forced in here by GRIN. Wildcard going through the top lane. The other thing is you don't really have much of a choice here as GRIN. You do have to address the top lane if it does force itself into the T3 tower. They are going all the way, I think. Monster is pinging out the other tier 3 top. He does want to go for it. Can just start chipping away with the meteor hammer.
Tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Muzi is going to rotate. Sammy, he's going to be on the front lines. Now keep in mind, he doesn't have the Aegis this time around.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
But he has got the tier 3 tower down. Smoke is going to be out immediately by Wildcard.
Radiant's
Lines
bottom
being drawn
tower
through the
is
mid
under
lane.
attack.
Smoke on smoke scenario now. Oh, the TB gonna have his smoke broken immediately. Soul, Ravage, it's gonna connect on all 5 heroes. Perfect initiation from Monster. And they are just getting just destroyed here by Wildcard. It's 3 down already. There needs to be a GG calling coming. An RP up from Muzi. Don't think it's gonna make any changes. The Flea has his own RP. A full team wipe and GG is called. They have seen enough. And we are going to a 6th game today, Jonathan. Game 3 coming right up between Wildcard and GRIN.
Yeah, it's been